I want to thank everybody for coming this evening. It's been raining. Just want to thank everybody for coming tonight. I know the weather is a little miserable out there right now. Hopefully by the time you leave it will have stopped raining. For those of you who do not know me, I'm Janet Kilpatrick and I'm the council person for the district now. Before we begin questions, I just want to say a few things about my tenure on this county council. First of all, let me say that I love my job. I've spent most of my adult life working with people, and this is just an extension of the things that I've done. I volunteered in the schools, I've worked for nonprofits, I've worked for the House of Representatives, and this is a step beyond that. This is where I am responsible for the things that you ask me to do. I'm not working for a rep or a senator, and it's in the end their responsibility. I'm a fiscal conservative. I believe that the public's money needs oversight. In this year alone, I've been part of successful negotiations for saving multi-million dollars in the FY15 budget. During this cycle, I questioned and proposed capital.
Sorry about that.
That was 2
It was the fastest 3 minutes in the world.
That was 2.
Oh, that was 2?
Go for another. Got 1 more minute.
Okay.
Our timekeeper was absent.
Sorry about that. The county executive proposed $18 million for the next fiscal year to improve 2 parks. In this, there were amphitheaters, which we got taken out, 50 indoor-outdoor farm and flea markets, which we got down to 10. We had farmland preservation that came up. I'm sure you all read about it in the paper. Very questionable as to how much we were paying these farm owners. We made sure that we capped that money. Fought against sending $225,000 of our county tax money over to the city of Wilmington. Negotiated through the CIO for those that were underbilled in sewer, and got that taken care of so that we all are paying our fair share rather than those of us who were overbilled or had our normal billing paying for those that were underbilled. When I was first elected, we were not taping council meetings and putting them on the web. Councilman Tackett and I sponsored that ordinance, and we now within 24 hours have every audio of every meeting on the website.
Thank you very much. Mike, it's good.
Timekeeper all set?
3 minutes? 3 minutes for your opening statement.
It kind of reminds me of I was an airline captain for many years, and the time we used to keep was not exactly the time you guys thought we were keeping, so I was glad of that. Thanks for coming out tonight. For those of you who braved the heat early, you might be swimming on the way home. There's quite a few thunderstorms, so be careful tonight. But let me throw out some numbers, and I want everybody to concentrate. There's 3 sets of numbers as we go through the issues. 20,000, 145 million, and 112. And in my remarks, I'll tell you what they mean, but think about it. 20,000, 145 million, and 112. Now, we're going to talk about a lot of issues tonight. I've seen some of the questions that are quite good, and I expect your questions to be just as detailed. But before we talk about the questions, the issues, the specificity, what I bring to the table is rather unique. Everybody talks about service to the community. My service has revolved most around 10 years in the United States Marine Corps, where it is the finest organization in the free world. We have standards that everybody keeps. We don't take them lightly, and we carry them wherever we go, even after we're gone. It's a sense of integrity and commitment to others, where your service doesn't come to yourself. And as a Marine Corps officer, you're always the first one up, the last one to go to bed, the first one to endure any suffering, and the first one to take on responsibility. That's what I bring to this position. This whole district is at a tipping point. We can go positive, or we can start declining. Decline is not a condition, it's a decision the community makes. I'm not signing up for that. I want the community to go forward. So the 20,000, if the Barley Mill Plaza Stoltz plan had been enacted, another 20,000 vehicle trips per day would have been at that intersection. Folks, that's the same amount of traffic that comes through the Hercules intersection on a given day. That would have been a disaster. The 145 million, the well-kept secret in all the financial problems the county has in the future, our pension fund is underfunded. 10, 12 years ago, we were putting about $2 or $3 million a year in the pension fund. Now it's $20 million. A $400 million fund is $145 million short. Nobody's talking about that. And 112, this book right here, Unified Development Code, if you ever have trouble sleeping at night for creating prosperity or an enterprise, I want you to read this thing. It'll choke the life out of you. So we need to address those things. But thanks for coming out. Look forward to the questions.
Thank you. The first question is simply, we'll start with Mike. So why are you running for election?
It's more or less what I said in my remarks. This area is an amazing place to live. I've traveled the world, the country, I've lived in many states. But we're at the point now where we have to make a decision where we're going on land use, economic prosperity, and I want those things to be positive. The track record I see is not. I see a lot of things bannered about in county council. The meeting I went to last week, one council member looked like he was asleep. I'm not kidding you. I couldn't understand a word he said, and I think he was asleep. You deserve a little better than that. I mean, and truly, these are your tax dollars. As far as the land use, for 25 years I was a pilot based up in New York City, and I drove to and from a place called Northern New Jersey. A lot of toll booths, a lot of traffic, a lot of trash. I don't want this area to turn into Northern New Jersey. Somebody's got to stand up and say the Unified Development Code does not work when disasters like Barley Mill be considered. We all want safe communities, good neighborhoods, and that's what a county common person is supposed to do. There's many jobs up and down the food chain, U.S. Senator, Congressman, address much bigger issues, but the issues that hit you first when you come out of your driveway in the morning, traffic, the headaches of everyday life, council person can't address those, and that's why I'm running.
Thank you. Janet, why are you running for re-election?
Well, this again goes back to what I said, is that I love my job, love helping people, and I like being on the forefront when we can look at policy making that helps the entire county. Since Mr. Protack brought up Barley Mill, let me just pose this as a question back to the community. There was no third choice. We had a choice, 1.6 million square feet or 2.9 million square feet. No third choice to leave it as it was. My vote was for 1.6 million square feet. It meant that a third of the property was rezoned. I was not happy with that. But when I looked at all of the impacts on all of the infrastructure, cutting out 1.3 million square feet from the original project, the by right project, the one that did not have to go through council, seemed to me to be the lesser of two evils.
Thank you. The next question is about the Unified Development Code. And Janet, we'll start with you. Are you satisfied with the current state of the UDC? If so, why? If not, what do you think needs to be improved?
Thank you. I don't like the UDC. I didn't like the UDC in 1997 when it was first brought out December 31st, the last night of the year. I feel that it was a code that was put together to stop development. And when you completely try to stop development within an area, you have a dying area. You have to change, you have to grow, which means that we have to have some laws. The UDC made a community that could not sustain itself. It wanted half-acre lots minimum and changed the number of zoning categories so that in order to be able to do affordable housing on smaller lots, you had to start amending the UDC. I understand where that administration came from. They were police. They knew that the closer together houses were, the more potential you had for friction, and so they made lots that were huge. 50% of every development had to be open space. That meant the cost of every house went up. That meant that we were paying more for each one of our homes. When the economy crashed, every one of those homes lost value, and people within this county lost their homes, were underwater. The number of sheriff sales were absolutely horrendous, to the point where the General Assembly had to come in and make sure that mediation was mandatory. I think that any document that needs 111 amendments, was not a good document to begin with and is not a good document now. But understand that substantial change to the UDC has to go through the General Assembly. This is not something that a council can do on their own. This document is approved by the General Assembly, and it would have to be, any other document would have to be reapproved by the General Assembly.
Thank you. Mike?
Same question. Yeah, Unified Development Code is a total disaster, and so is Barley Mill at every level. Unmitigated disaster to something like that could even be approached in county council at any level. We can talk about that all night. It would destroy most of the roads and communities in this area. There's no excuse for that. Now, the Unified Development Code certainly needs to be written in total. When you have 112 amendments, it's sort of like, who does their own income taxes? When you do them at the end, every bit of profanity you can muster up gets uttered because you don't understand the rules. And it becomes a lottery game for land use lawyers to game the system. And who loses? All the communities. UDC is choking off economic prosperity also. Again, because the process is longer, we're not using enough technology to approve projects that are worthwhile. It has become so bizarre and Byzantine as to be unworkable. I think Einstein, Leonardo da Vinci would just turn away. They couldn't figure it all out. And then what we get are these terrible projects that would have destroyed communities. It's got to be redone from the start. And we have to have some regulation for our communities and roads. Again, if you want unrestrained growth, unrestrained roads congestion, like I say, it's about 85 miles north. It starts at exit 10. That's where you can go. It's just not, that's not the place most of us signed up. We worked hard and prospered to have nice homes in this area. We don't want them endangered by bad government decisions. So rewrite the entire document from start to finish. I mean, I'm optimistic it can be done. It's been done in other places. Why not here?
Thank you. Then Mike, we're going to start with you. This next question, in reference to the Pike Creek Golf Course, if Newcastle County prevails in the upcoming Delaware Supreme Court case, then 135 acres will be preserved as open space. What should be done with this open space?
That'd be a great opportunity, and I hope as a new council person I'd be integral in doing that between the property owner and the surrounding communities. There's tons of things that could be done. It could be an assortment of bike trails, preserves, community walking areas. It could be the highlight of this area. I hope it turns out to be that way. But again, that could be the template for the rest of Newcastle County when these decisions come down. What do we do? How do we move forward? After the lawyers and judges do all their things, what do we do as citizens? I mean, that'd be a template, I think, for a new council person who doesn't have the baggage of the past, on one side, on the other side, back and forth, contentious, to sit down with the community leaders, the property owners, and come up with a great solution that helps everybody.
Thank you. Janet?
Thank you. First of all, if the county prevails, the land is still private. So that owner then has to figure out what he can plan on that or not plan on that, which then has to go through the Department of Land Use and come again through council. This is private property. People use it now for the trails that are on there, and they have been asked over and over not to trespass on that land. It's been rumored that one of these governments might think about buying that land. Councilman Sheldon and I sat in 6 days of mediation, and I can tell you the price that we were quoted on that land, there is no government that's going to buy that. So at this point, if we prevail, it stays open as private land. It stays open as a configuration that if you or I decided to purchase that land, that we could put a golf course on it. What people don't realize that live outside of this area is that none of the developments that surround that Pike Creek Golf Course have stormwater drainage. That was the stormwater drainage for all of the communities in Pike Creek. That area, every surrounding development, and there are 12 of them, every surrounding development drains either onto or under that golf course with its retention basins and outlets into the Pike Creek. So for anything to be built on there, for any impervious cover to be put on there, it is going to be a major decision that has to come through DENREC. It would have to redesign the stormwater management for that whole area. So at this point, even though something passive there would be nice, there are many more considerations than just what are we going to do with a piece of open space. That open space is the open space for the master plan in Pike Creek.
Thank you. The next question will go to Janet. What are your thoughts on the current state of public safety in Newcastle County?
I think right now our public safety is doing pretty well. We have very proactive policing at this point. We have community service officers. We have 2 within each district, not council district, but police districts. They interface very well with the communities. Within this district, we have the Northwest Delaware Crime Watch Network, which incorporates 50 communities. We communicate with the police department, both state and county, on a regular basis. Not only us going to them, but them coming to us and asking for help in spotting vehicles that have been noticed in crimes throughout the area. We have a great grant writer within the police department, Lori Kane. She's extremely aggressive in acquiring federal grants, which has helped us run some of these programs that we don't have to use county money, but we are being subsidized through the federal government for very specific things that we do. Many people don't know that the 911 center is run by Newcastle County. Every 911 call that comes in through our center. We need to keep that updated. We have to have the latest technology. Smart 911 is one of the newest that we have. If you don't know about it, you might want to look on the internet because it's worth signing up for your own protection. And our next challenge is to go text. That emergency calls will be coming in through texting. Paramedics, each county has a unit. The state used to provide funding for that. We get very little reimbursement for our paramedic unit anymore. They offer all medical service and rescue service to the residents of this county. They back up the fire companies and the EMS. They are much more trained than our EMS through the volunteer companies. They push drugs and they work under a doctor's number. And our Office of Emergency Management, if anybody has signed up to get the text that they send out, obviously they warn us of every single thing that's coming through this county.
Thank you. Mike?
Yeah, same question. Everybody in this room should be extremely proud of the county police. Last week I attended a meeting called TAPS, Targeted Anecdotal Police Reporting System. It was an amazing display of technology and personal involvement. I think there was 3-4 rows of police officers at different levels, traffic safety, special ops, drugs, all the different Marine Corps days, commanders, all giving briefs of areas. Now, unfortunately, the shortest part of the brief was this neighborhood, this area. There are some parts of the county, for instance, one near Glasgow High School, they were trying to close down a house where the kids were getting high in the morning before they went to class. Now, different day, different time, a different challenge. But every instance, people got their input, and the colonel stood up, and this is a man, it reminded my days in the Marine Corps battalion commander standing up, knowing exactly where his troops are, what they were doing, no holds barred, accountability. 50-minute meeting, I left there completely, totally impressed with the technology and the dedication of the people involved. So our safety is good. Robberies, burglaries, I think down 20–30%, which is exceptional. This part of the district, the county's doing quite well. There's other areas, they call them purple areas. Those areas you don't go at night. You don't go unless you're armed. There are very few of those, but they're on top of them. And the minute one of these purple areas show up, they're on it with a 3-point plan. They enhance traffic safety first. They do these knock calls where they go to the door to find out what the problem is. And then, last resort, if they can't use law enforcement, they use code enforcement to close the house down or the threat. I left very impressed. I think our system's doing fine. I think the police colonel was exceptional. So well done.
Okay, thank you. Mike, we'll start with you for the next question. Excluding land use and public safety, what are your thoughts on Newcastle County operations in general, and what, if any, changes are needed?
Not a whole lot of changes. I think government always is too big. That's just my philosophy. But I think every government should choose carefully and execute relentlessly. So at every chance we can develop efficiencies to save taxpayer money, be more accountable, I'm all for. The biggest threat in Newcastle County is not what's going on in this district. The city of Wilmington, folks, is going to be the next Detroit in about 5 years. It is going to implode. Now, I don't know how many people in the room know something about metropolitan government. We need to move towards a more efficient means of government where we share resources, save money, give better services. That's going into the future, but that's something we need to think about, because Wilmington is a giant anchor. It could be a shining diamond, but nobody seems to do anything about it. So as far as operations, keep pursuing what we're doing. We have a AAA bond rating, finances are pretty solid, except for the pensions. So just keep on doing what we're doing, but we've got to address, within the county, this roaming disaster called the city of Wilmington.
Thank you. Janet?
Thank you. The question says excluding land use and public safety, but I would like to make one comment about the Department of Land Use. We have a code enforcement department, and that is probably the group that touches people within this county the most. When you have something wrong in your neighborhood, we call code enforcement, they come in, they cite, they fine, they go back and re-inspect. That is the group in land use, not that deals with building, but that deals with the buildings on the ground and what the people here want. We have a lot of departments within this county: law, IT, procurement, finance, human resources, special services. Every time you flush your toilet, turn on your faucet and watch your water go down the drain, thank a county employee that they have kept those lines open. They do a tremendous job at maintenance. They do a tremendous job at emergencies. There was one development that on Christmas Eve, they lost their sewer, and our guys worked until 6 o'clock in the morning to get it back for them for Christmas Day. Community services, we do a lot with federal funding here. We have neighborhood conservation and stabilization, which doesn't necessarily affect this district as much as some of the others where there is low-income housing. We help seniors with minor home repairs. We do neighborhood cleanups. We have an employee, Carrie Casey, who is very, very good at this job. This money comes in from the federal government to each state. Each state allocates it to localities. We are one of them that gets money. If you don't use it, spend it, and do the process that you're supposed to do, which means buying houses, rehabbing, selling them, all within a very specific time frame, that money goes back to the federal government, and you're not going to see it at that same level the next time. There are municipalities that cannot use the money fast enough. In order for the state of Delaware not to lose that money, we get it in Newcastle County, and Carrie uses it. She is always there within the timeline. She knows the federal process. She knows the federal law.
Thank you. The next question, we'll start with Janet. What is the current state of finances in Newcastle County, and what, if any, changes are needed in the Newcastle County budgetary process?
Well, over the last couple of years, obviously we've had the recession, and we have seen things like our real estate transfer tax go from 40 million annually down to 14 annually. They're working their way back up. We have a projection this year for 20 million coming in. That's one of our major revenue generators. Some of our other generators come from our row offices, which people don't usually assume are even part of county government. The sheriff's office, the marriage licenses, the recorder